Hello and welcome to Belfast Talk Straight on a day which ended the Test series. Didn't expect New Zealand to put up a massive fight, but India blew them away. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Well, John Norman, I didn't expect New Zealand to bat for 2 days and knew it was going to be tough especially against our Ashwin, but India just blew them away. And India finished, I thought, a good tour of the subcontinent with a little bit of a whimper.
Yeah, look, there's very few teams, unless you've got Ben Stokes in the side, can recover from being bowled out for a score in the 60s. But look, it was always going to be a massive task for New Zealand, even when you consider India rested the best part of half a team. Losing the toss twice, they didn't help themselves by not picking the right team twice. And look, when India get on top, they're like all great test sides, aren't they? When you get on top, you absolutely ram it home. And that's what they did. You know, New Zealand bowled well, obviously with Ajaz Patel in the first day and a half. But that, on that track, 250 would have been see, the thing is, 250 would have been a competitive total. And for all of the lauding of Ajaz Patel, which we have all been party to, which is absolutely fair enough, if he'd had a half decent spinner next to him, he never would have taken all 10 wickets. And that's a shame for Will Somerville, who bowled gamely and batted pretty well, actually. But on that track, you should never be in a position where one player takes all 10 wickets, really. Harmison wasn't quite on it. Fair enough. He's been brilliant. He's allowed an off test. Southey, again, he's allowed an off test. But when you saw Mohammad Siraj come into bowl, when New Zealand were batting, you saw someone who was fresh, who hadn't just bowled for 5 days in Kanpur. You saw a guy that was desperate to make his mark because he knows there's a South Africa tour coming up, and someone who'd just been sitting on his backside for a day and a half. So there was India worthy winners. They were always going to be strong favourites. New Zealand didn't really help themselves, but even if they had picked the right side, they were obviously unfortunate with Kane Williamson as well. But this is a brilliant India side, and even their second string can beat pretty much any side in world cricket at home. And so it proved. But one thing I will say, mate, we've just done this series on TalkSport 2. That was a classic series, and there was so much ridiculousness that came in that series. I read some of this out on day 2, I think. But basically, we've just seen a 2-test series between India and New Zealand that's seen a bowler take 10 wickets in an innings for only the 3rd time ever. As Neil Manthorpe said, that happens once every 800 test matches. The same player had batted out the best part of 10 overs with a debutant to save a test match, coming up against Ashwin, Axar Patel, and Ravindra Jadeja. You saw on the first test match, a debutant hit a century and a 50 for the first time in the history of Indian cricket. You've just seen Mayank Agarwal hit 150 and a half century. He'll probably get dropped for the next test match. You've seen R. Ashwin get clean bowled and review it. You've seen about 7 batsmen given out incorrectly for LBW, and about 4 should have been given out for LBW if the bowler had appealed. You've seen 4 different captains, 3 different wicketkeepers, a 10-fer, 2 fifers, Spider Cam stop play, the worst innings Ross Taylor's played in 100 tests, a keeper thrown to a keeper to run out a keeper. That was in 2 tests.
Yeah.
I mean, forget the ball draw. Forget the fact that this has been a one-sided win for India in the end. This is a series that will live long in the memory for absolutely madcap reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything you just mentioned, it has been gripping stuff, even though yesterday was probably the longest bowler in the day in my short career.
And I forgot the fact that the TalkSport 2 team, who Indian listeners viewers won't realize this, but the team have been getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to commentate on this test. Just a 4-man commentary team, so a really small team for what is essentially 7 hours a day. And Virat Kohli didn't enforce the follow-on until the lead was 540.
540
in a match when New Zealand had been bowled out for 62.
Yeah, just trying to get yourself not so much motivated, but trying to keep things topical and relevant without wanting to jump off the nearest bridge when it comes to what are we going to say now? How can we keep this going between the four of us?
And now for another stint, it's Steve Harmison as Riddiman Sahar walks into bat.
What am I going to say now? It's just honestly, it was the gripping test series. Yeah, but I do agree. Yesterday was hard work in more ways than one, from a game situation, from a broadcasting point of view as well. But like you said before, there's so much happened in this series, and what you find, and the one thing I will take away from, if I was an Indian fan, a little bit like England have got in their one day, the white ball stuff, is the pool of players are just getting bigger, and the pressure on the men with the shirts is getting stronger and stronger. And my overriding emotion and opinion of what's happening with Indian cricket at this moment in time is they've got two guys in the middle of the order that they want to keep picking. They want to keep. They were hoping that they're going to continue to score runs, but they've got some young guys now who, I think it might be their time. Suresh Iyer, how can you drop that lad?
He won't be, will he?
Well, I don't know.
This is the crazy thing. I mean, India basically got to get. Nah, not.
Wouldn't surprise me with Kohli if they go back to Pujara 3, Kohli 4, Ajinkya Rahane 5, Rishabh Pant 6.
You're right.
With Jadeja 7. This is how crazy it is. R. Ashwin has just got 8 for 42 in a match. He might not play in the next Test match on Boxing Day.
He didn't play in England, did he? Ashwin. He's just taken his 300th wicket at home.
Yeah, Mayank Agarwal has just got 150 and 50.
Yeah,
he might not play in the next Test match. Like you mentioned, Suresh Iyer, 150 on debut, never happened in Indian Test match cricket history. He might not play in the next Test match. So it just shows you the pool of players that are coming. And I'd be intrigued, Indian fans out there. What is your team for the next Test match?
Well, we've had Austin Dacunia ask a question. Get your questions in. Bolfast Talk Straight on YouTube. Subscribe, review, leave a comment. And he says, hey, Harmy, what is your prediction for India versus South Africa and the Ashes? We'll talk about that another day. And what is your ideal 11 for India and South Africa? So, okay, if you're the selector, first Test, Centurion, where we were a couple of years ago on Boxing Day, what's your 11 to line up against South Africa?
My 11 would be, it'll be a little bit like the Ashes 11. It'll be completely different to what the selectors would probably pick or what Virat will pick. But I would go with Rohit Sharma, Mayank Agarwal, KL Rahul, Virat Kohli, Suresh Iyer, Rishabh Pant.
So Pant at 6.
Yeah,
you were saying he's one too high.
Jadeja at 7, which 6, Jadeja, Pant 7, whichever way you want to go. Probably as name surfaces, probably Jadeja 6, Pant 7. R. Ashwin 8, Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj, and Jasprit Bumrah. That would be my 11 to go and take on South Africa. I've got 3 out-and-out quick bowlers. I've got probably the most informed spin bowler at the minute in R. Ashwin. I've got an all-round spin bowler in Jadeja because there's not another all-rounder. If Hardik Pandya was able to bowl, get me 15 overs a Test match, 18 overs a Test match, I'd pick Hardik Pandya to bat 6, but he can't. So there's no real all-rounder. You could pick Shardul Thakur. I don't think he strengthens the batting. And he strengthens your bowling from an all-rounder point of view. But it wouldn't surprise me if Thakur plays instead of R. Ashwin at number 8, and with Jadeja at 7. That leaves out Pujara and Rahane. Axar Patel doesn't play with a ridiculous record that he's got at this moment in time. But I think that strongest they've got. The strongest 11.
How do you? First off, do India need 2 spinners in South Africa? And second, that leaves them a bit light if they lose. If someone breaks down, fast man breaks down. Third question: when does
it does? But you can't think that going into a test match. Somebody's going to break down. If you think somebody's going to break down before they go into a test match, they shouldn't be playing. They shouldn't be playing. It's like England have got a similar thing with the Ashes. Come Brisbane, you look at that green seamer. Jimmy Anderson hasn't had the greatest of preparation. He's 39-year-old. Do you risk losing him for the test match and the whole series by playing him at the Gabba, or do you just leave him for what is his strength going to be pink ball test match? I personally leave him for the second test match because I don't want to lose him for the rest of the series. If you feel as though somebody's going to break down, one, they shouldn't be playing. The 2 spin option is you're playing one spinner and you're playing an all-rounder that can bowl a bit of spin, which Jadeja would be your all-rounder for me. Bats at 6. If we need a second spinner, 4th innings, does he bowl that? Does he bowl them darts, which would account for the 4th seamer option? For me, that's a more well-balanced all-round side that India are used to, and Virat Kohli's used to having 2 spinners in his side and manoeuvring 2 spinners. We're not talking about two spinners as in a frontline spinner and a part-time spinner. We're talking about Jadeja and Ashwin, who've played a hell of a lot of cricket, who know the game inside out and will adapt to the situation that's needed to bowl on that surface to do the job that's asked of from the captain in Virat Kohli. If you put Shardul Thakur in there, is that a stronger side? If the ball is seaming and swinging around, do you need 4 seamers? Do you need 4 seamers? We're not playing in Mumbai or Chennai. It'll be cooler. It'll not be red hot, but it'll be cooler. So you can bowl that longer spell. And our Ashwin is quite happy. He's quite comfortable of being able to hold an end if need be to rotate the seamers from the other end.
Okay.
So that's a balanced side for me.
I'm not going to disagree. What 11? The viewers might disagree. It'd be nice to hear some of them give their 11s. What do you think will be the 11? If you push injuries to one side, because obviously there's a couple of question marks, but what do you expect to see? Because you talk about the stubbornness of Virat Kohli. So what 11 do you expect to see?
I think it'll be Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Jadeja, Pant, Thakur, Siraj, Shami, Bumrah. That's what I think they'll pick.
So essentially the side, it's a side that was 2-1 up against England, isn't it?
Yeah, side that was 2-1 up against England. But all of a sudden, for me, you're looking at Mayank Agarwal, Suresh Iyer, then you're kicking their development a little bit further down the road in a way that this is a good side to play against. This is a good side in good conditions to play against.
But this is not a development series. This is the final frontier, Kohli wins here. India win here.
Got to have your players have got to. If you're not giving exposure to the players that you think are going to be the next ones to come into this side, exposure away from home, you're going to have to let them go eventually. You're going to have to put them in eventually. All of a sudden, you're going 1-0 down because Pujara's nicked off Rabada and same with Rahane. All of a sudden, you're looking to leave them out. You're putting more pressure on them by putting these young players in. For me, you go with that side. It's a good enough side anyway. India are a good enough side. To blood to younger players. It's a good batting unit.
This is not a stellar South Africa side, is it?
That's what I'm saying. It's a perfect
not like they're going up against Graham Smith and Jack Callis.
Perfect opposition.
Let's have a look at some other questions that have come in. Mandeep's got in touch with Manchu from the Bay Area and Silicon Valley. Hashwanth Arunan says, do you think it's time for Ross Taylor to retire? He's 37, doesn't quite seem to be at it. His approach in the second innings was bizarre for a world-class batsman. Well, I won't disagree. It was a strange old innings, that's for sure. Only lasted 6 balls, but it lasts longer than memory. I think it's premature to write him off, to be honest. The guy hasn't played any cricket for a long, long time. He's always been skittish at the start. He's played 100 tests. Unless he wants to give it up, but then I think he probably would have done so already. India away. I think he'll, New Zealand don't play a lot of test cricket. So it's not like in England when players give up test cricket. It makes a massive difference to their lifestyle. Burnout is avoided. The rigmarole of touring for months on end is taken away. It's not like that in test cricket for New Zealand. So I can see him. They're playing Bangladesh and South Africa. Maybe that'll be it for him. And then they play England. They go to England in June. Maybe that'll be his final. I think that's more realistic for Taylor to bow out.
Yeah, he looked a bit. I said on commentary that is this the last time we see Ross Taylor walk off the field? It looked that way. The way when he came off the field, he ran up the stairs. There wasn't much acknowledgement from his teammates after the sort of scattergun innings that he had. But I'm having 24 hours to sort of think about it a little bit more. I don't think Ross Taylor will give the game up before he goes back to New Zealand. I think if he plays in the series against Bangladesh and South Africa and he doesn't score a big score, or there are more frequent innings like what we've just seen in Mumbai, then I'd be surprised if he comes to England. If he goes home and gets a few runs, then he probably will come to England and maybe finish his time and his days there. But yeah, there will be some contemplation on that plane and in isolation.
Yeah,
because of the amount of cricket that he doesn't play. That's the thing, John, for me. The amount of cricket that he doesn't play. It's all well and good saying they don't play a great deal of test match cricket. And yes, he's 37, but you need to hit balls. You need to be in a position to keep your feet moving and your hands going. And if you're not playing a lot of cricket, even at 37, playing 100 odd test matches, every time you go to the wicket, you'll feel as though you're underdone. You're undercooked, underprepared, because you're not played enough. That can start weighing on the mind and the reflexes, especially of somebody who will be 38 by the time he comes to England.
Himanshu says Shardul Thakur, he thinks he will play. No, they won't play 2 spinners in South Africa. I kind of agree. I think that they didn't play him in England. I'm not saying it's exactly like for like, but I can see Virat Kohli reverting to the formula that has served him so well. Dan Ray says, Steve, you look very young, like before. Steve has got himself ready for his gig on BT, which is taking place for the Ashes. We were asked a question about the Ashes, weren't we?
Yeah.
Prediction for the Ashes series? That was from Austin Dacuna.
Yeah, I've cleaned myself up a little bit. I don't feel that young, to be honest. The way being up at 3 o'clock in the morning for the last 2 weeks, and it's going to continue for the next sort of 5 or 6 weeks. And I'm really looking forward to the Ashes. I think come down to Australia have named their side. Bang, there you go. 1-11. Didn't any surprise other than it was heads or tails, Travis Head or Usman Khawaja. I thought Khawaja would have got the nod, but obviously the runs Head got during the week probably just tipped it over in his favour. Top order runs for me. I still go with England. In the past have gone to Australia when they've won 86-7, 10-11. Their opening batsmen have scored runs. I can think of, I was going to say Stuart Broad, but he was there, but he was about 2 or 3 year old carrying his dad's bat. Chris Broad had a monumental series in 86-7, and Cook, Strauss, and Trott were the ones to sort of really set the tone for England in 2010-11, and they don't come round very often. So England's 1, 2, 3 have to perform. Can't rely on Root every single time. Stokes hasn't played a great deal of cricket, but he's back, which is great. I personally would bat him at 3 and play 4 seamers, but I don't think that will happen. I just think home advantage could be the tipping point in this series. 5th test match has been announced that it's not going to be in Perth. I think that suits England because I think the surface at the MCG or Hobart will probably play into more English style advantage, especially if it's in Hobart. But if it's in at the MCG and talking about playing under lights, well, I win the toss in that test match with Anderson and Broad. 2 day-night games might just help England. So I think there's a lot going into it. But if England's 1, 2, 3 don't score runs, then England don't have a chance of winning.
Austin is back. He says, what are your thoughts on Virat Kohli, the captain? The way he drives a crowd and energizes a team. But would you have liked to have played under him, do you think?
I think it would have been nice to play under him, more for the fact that he's one of the best players of the modern generation. He leads from the front. I like Virat Kohli's captaincy. I really do. There's a line he crosses sometimes, and I think you call him out on that. But I would encourage him always to be close to that line because it seems to drive him on. His enthusiasm for his players and his bowlers, and his passion for the game is brilliant. And I think the way he conducts himself on the field, like I said before, there is sometimes he gets over the line and he gets punished for it, rightly so. But the way he drives the crowd, what Austin's saying, I think India need that. I think we've seen in the first test match at Kanpur, and it was commented on at the end that this would have been a different test match with Virat Kohli as captain. There would have been a lot more in-your-face stuff. There would have been a lot more spikiness between him and the umpire, especially at the end. Plus, there would have been a lot more drama and theatre because I don't think the batsmen would have had as an easier, as quiet a ride in them last 10 overs with Virat on the field and as captain. So a lot was made of when he didn't captain in Australia and in India won. I still think the best man for the captaincy of the Indian cricket team is Virat Kohli. I still think world cricket need Virat Kohli, the captain, because of the way he plays, his thought processes, and his understanding that the game needs test match cricket is vital for the game going forward. So for me, I think he not only is he a world-class batsman, I think he's a very, very good leader as well.
Hashwant says, should he bat at 3?
Good question. He might have to if you change, if you drop the old guard. If Pujara and Rahane go out of the side, would it be a big ask for one of the younger brigade to bat at number 3? Whether it's, I would imagine Mayank Agarwal could bat at 3 because obviously he opens a batting. That would be not a problem. Suryakumar Yadav comes into the side. Would he bat 3? I don't think so. You've got the likes of Suresh Iyer is you don't really want to expose him at number 3. So needs must possibly Kohli could go at 3, but I think the next person to go bat at number 3 would be either Mayank Agarwal, or if Agarwal does open the batting with Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul could bat at number 3. So I'm sure Kohli has thought about it, but he probably does like batting at number 4, and he's more comfortable leading the side from number 4.
Final thoughts then after the series, takeaway moments. I mean, the obvious ones are Shreyas Iyer and Ajaz Patel. But apart from those two, what will keep you up at night, or what will wake you up in the morning? I mean, there was some brilliance there, wasn't there? Tim Southee, yeah. I thought a few years ago Tim Southee looked like he might be on the way out. I was wrong. I mean,
he's a bit like Jimmy Anderson. Jimmy Anderson had a passage where you're thinking in his sort of mid-30s, early to mid-30s, is it time to move on from Jim? And then all of a sudden, he just got better and better. And Southee seems to be New Zealand's version of James Anderson, and that he could have quite a few years left in him. I thought it was a fantastic series. You touched on it a bit earlier when you went through what's happened in this series over this last 9 days. Apart from a mad 28 overs and then New Zealand getting bowled out for 62, all of a sudden, if they do get 250, 270, 300 close to where India were, like they did in Kanpur, then all of a sudden we might have had a different outcome, a better game on. But I think all in all, we've seen some fantastic cricket. I think we've seen some proper test match cricket. Good bowling, exceptional batting, by some good young players, history-making 10-for, which was fantastic. You mentioned the Jamieson and the Southee. I just think the New Zealand side, there was a lot of energy taken out of that New Zealand side at Green Park, Camport, and then to go to the well again after 3-4 days off, I thought it was just a little bit too, that one step too far. And I think India have come out worthy winners in a World Test Championship. They want to win. They come second in it last time around, and they want to win. And I do believe, even in the early stages, that India will be in the World Test final. And I've got a sneaky feeling Pakistan will be there as well. So good luck, that World Test final. India against Pakistan, if that does happen. Where that would happen in the world, wow. What a seat you'd have to, how much would it cost to get a seat in that house? Because it will be a fantastic contest.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that regard. Well, look, Harmy, we'll be back, won't we? We're going to be doing shows throughout the Ashes, details of which will be announced here on Bowlfast Talk Straight. Subscribe and review. But for now, thanks for joining us with this look back at the India-New Zealand Test Series. Harmy, I'll see you in about 2 days.